everyone. I'm Neha Chauhan. I'm an associate at SPRF, and I was the project lead on the study on inclusive education that we did. The report is coming out in April, and we are here to discuss some things about the report. So, the aim of our study was to basically highlight the different social and physical barriers that still exist in higher education institutes for people with physical disabilities. In the report, we also make recommendations for different stakeholders such as government, policymakers, and educational institutions. So when we were looking at different reports that have been done on inclusive education, one thing that we all noticed was that a lot of them focused on physical barriers that exist in the higher education institutes. For instance, they talk about how colleges need ramps or they need lifts, but a lot of them don't talk about the social barriers that exist, which hamper the college experiences of people with disabilities. So through the project, we wanted to focus on both physical and social barriers. And apart from that, we also noticed that most conversations that happen around inclusive education are also centered around schools. And so we wanted to have a discussion with students studying in colleges to get their insights on inclusive education.
So, so, like Neha, Fahad, and Arushi, I want to ask a question to all three of you. Like, I want to know what your observations were in this aspect, but what was the one main social barrier that you found out? Like, what was the one main social barrier for students with disabilities in DU? I mean, I want to know what your observations were.
I think the major one that we all noticed was how there was a lack of awareness about disabilities and a lot of preconceived notions about people with disabilities. So a lot of able-bodied people just assume what a person with disability can or cannot do. So I think that is something that we all noticed during our conversations with the students. Um,
And also
I
lack of
think
accommodation on part of like students or teachers even a lot of teachers did not allow them any accommodations in class that would go with the specific form of disability. So a lot of students did mention that they were not that their disability was not accommodated in the curriculum or even the everyday running of the class also.
hmm.
Yeah, I think one of the things also was the what we wanted to capture in the report was that we wanted to look at not just academic life, we wanted to look at inclusive campus life, because campus life also sort of it contributes to the holistic development of a student, right? It's not just academics, you're also part of clubs, extracurricular activities. So we wanted to see how those aspects of a college life is inclusive in these higher education institutes. So yeah.
Yeah,
And
speaking of
actually that's the
clubs and
area
society. Sorry, Fahad, go ahead.
and actually that's the area where the colleges do poorly in terms of inclusivity, specifically in the extracurricular arena as compared to the academics portion of it.
Correct,
Right, it's
correct. And
not given enough
speaking of
importance. Yeah.
Yeah, speaking of clubs and all, I think one of the most important society for students with disabilities is the enabling unit. And even I think we've all noticed that most of the enabling units in colleges, they are inactive or defunct. And even I think they're also a bit lazy in this regard to help people. I mean, that was a very sad part to notice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
a lot of
and
it is
also a lot of
just
these sorry. So a lot of these enabling units and EOCs were actually run by able-bodied people in these colleges,
yeah.
and so it's that is also something that we notice, and it's just not possible for a person without physical disability to know what exactly a person with a disability would need. So I think that is also something that we've noticed, just the lack of sensitivity and awareness about the needs of people with disabilities.
Yeah, and a couple of students just straight up mentioned that how it was just mostly resume activism than any, yeah, any concrete form of inclusivity.
Hmm.
I mean, you generally don't go expecting that, the facilities that students need aren't provided to them, What someone thinks that when they read about policies, when they read about university guidelines, you think that universities would be following that at least, 50% of the time. But when we went out, did the primary research, we found out they were not being followed even for 10% of the time. So
Yeah, because we found out like most policies are there in place. The EOCs have to be there. But when we went in person to colleges, they were just not active or not working as per, the guidelines of the government. So I think the policies are in place, but they're just not being implemented properly.
I think one thing, the UGC guidelines, they mandate that there need to be at least two staff members as a part of the equal opportunity cell or the enabling unit. But most colleges, they just have like one teacher in charge of these units, and even that teacher in charge is not very active in the whole process. So yeah,
I think it was shocking for us to see that almost many of the colleges did not have functioning EU cells because it's mandated by law. And then just going to these colleges, and then a lot of students then responding that, oh, the EU is not enabling unit, or the is not functioning, was just a little bit shocking for us to see in terms of primary research. These colleges, there is just no there are no a lot of these colleges have no ramps, or not made in a proper manner. The classes do not have the acoustics that would help students who have auditory disabilities.
we started noticing it post primary research. I think I was noticing these things even while I was doing the primary research. For example, metro stations and wherever I was out and about, I would see whether some places are inclusive or not, just on the basis of infrastructure, nothing else.
When we went for the primary research now, at least for me, it happened like I didn't notice these things when I was studying in colleges. I did not notice that my college did not have, say, a functioning enabling unit, or they did not have any accommodations for persons with disabilities in the college societies. And I was part of these college societies, and I did not notice it back then. And I think the students currently enrolled in colleges, I think they should also definitely give it a read. They would know way more about their peers, and just the things that they can do differently to make the classrooms and college experience more inclusive for everyone around them.
Anyone is interested in public policy or like social activism, they should definitely give our report a read because it covers some issues that not a lot of people talk about. You don't see articles every day talking about the problems faced by students, not just on the basis of infrastructure like Fahad mentioned, but also social problems in terms of interaction with other students, in terms of engagement with society. I think that forms a very important part of a person's college life, and it develops a person. So our report talks about all these things, and I think these are very important things to know if you're interested in working in in an NGO, for example, or in the social sector.
It's a very deep community issue, and the thing that a report brings to fore is that how even with the correct policies put in place, you really cannot those policies do not address the social aspect of things and the daily interactions, like Anirudh mentioned, right? Those are the major problems that still plague the higher education institutes in terms of inclusivity. And many of these problems won't just be addressed with simple policy measures. You'll need to have people need to think differently and to think more inclusively to address these issues, and just community has to just step up here. And I think for that, this report is very necessary for everyone to read.
Things that we've tried to do with this report is approach it in a manner that a student enters a college. So we have gone from your choice of college, your orientation, your transition to that college space, to the learning experience, to your classroom experience, to your placement cells and career guidance, and what after, and also of course the social interaction in between. So we have tried to sort of look at the challenges that happen at every level, which we somehow we sometimes don't even think about it in orientation, and the choice of college for a student with disability, and the kind of information that is available for them before joining the college. So these are the things that we have also covered in the report. So yeah, I think that's why it's a good way to look at it, and a good way to, like, break down the entire system in a step-by-step process. If you want to read the full report, it's on sprf.in without a paywall. Okay, great.
Bye.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks, guys. Bye bye.